Welcome to the PerpCast. I'm your host, Ray, the social media and PR manager for Perp Games. And we've created this podcast to further show our support to the wider games and virtual reality industry. Last week, we chatted to Linnea Harrison at Neat Corporation. And previously chatted to the likes of Ian Higdon from Eurogamer, Andreas Juliusson from Fast Travel Games, and Halo Destiny and Golem composer Marty O'Donnell. And I'm delighted to say that on the 10th edition of the show, we have another awesome guest joining us. Please welcome the creator of Pixel Ripped, Ana Ribeiro. Thanks so much for joining us, Ana. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to talk to you all the time.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you so much for doing this on the weekend as well. We're actually recording this on a Sunday, so we don't normally do this. We normally do it in the week, but with schedules and whatnot, it made sense to do it on the weekend instead. So thanks so much for doing that. On today's show, we're going to be talking all about Ana's career, the creation of Pixel Rip 1989, what's coming up in Pixel Rip 1995, cosplaying, and much, much more. And I've got a series of questions here, Ana, which I've already shared with you, so you've already had a look at them. So we're going to dive into some of these now. So first of all, just wanted to know, just tell us a bit about yourself and kind of like your journey to the games industry.
So I'm the creator of Pixel Ripped, which is my first game, actually my first released game. I have been working, I have been working with VR since 2013 when I got my first DK1. And today I'm focused on developing a creative directing Pixel Ripped, and my goal is to keep going and just work on VR, focus on VR. I become a VR dinosaur. That's how it goes. We work from the beginning of like the VR industry. We are still like in the beginning, but I'm big. My goal is to keep focusing from now on just on virtual reality, AR, just developing games. Developing games for non-VR, and for me nowadays it's not something I plan to do. It's just don't have the motivation. So I'm gonna be focusing on being a VR developer for a long time.
So what was it about VR that kind of interested you most of all? I mean, I imagine that you were a gamer before VR, and obviously I guess that kind of links into the retro aesthetic of Pixel Rip. But what is it kind of about VR that interests you most of all as a developer?
It's just that there's no rules set. So when I first tried DK1, I was mind blown. I think I didn't feel like that since when I tried Mega Drive for the first time when I played Sega Genesis. I felt that, wow, video games cannot go beyond this. This is crazy. And until the DK1, I haven't felt like that. So when I first tried VR, I was, of course, mind blown. And since that day, I got my DK1 and I started just thinking I couldn't imagine and design other games if it wasn't VR. And it's just because it's such an open world, with so many new things we can explore. I love working with new stuff. I challenge myself and try something that if there's something someone done before, I totally put it off and I just don't want to do anymore. So VR for me, it's just this whole new world that we can explore. That's definitely the biggest motivation for me. Like just this huge blue ocean that no one knows where it's going.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a kind of a wonderful time in VR as well, because while there's a lot of established games, there's a lot more to come from VR, and I think we've only kind of seen the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. And obviously you've been pushing the way with that a lot with Pixel Rip, which we're going to dive into in just a little bit. But I know that you haven't always worked in games, and I know you worked outside the industry for many years. So I mean, when you obviously spent time outside of the industry, and I'm in a similar boat because I worked as an administrator in local government for about 15 years before I got on as a community manager. So
wow.
So it's really weird how my journey was a long time as well. But I mean, when did it finally occur to you that you really wanted to work in games and like you just kind of weren't happy with what you were currently doing?
So I didn't spend 15 years. I spent 5 years. That's a long time.
Yeah, it was quite good.
Oh man, I'm happy that you're happy to change your career, I guess, right?
Yeah, much so. Yeah, well, I basically started as a community manager for Pocket Gamer. I don't know if you know Pocket Gamer.
Yeah, I know.
So I kind of got my break through them, and then it kind of like transitioned into doing other work as kind of community management, marketing in other places. But yeah, I spent a good half of my life in office work. So I know the feeling.
15 years. But it's better later than never, right?
Absolutely.
I also spent 5 years studying psychology. Then I spent 5 years working at the Justice Council, which was basically making divorces, typing documents for the judges. It's painful when it's not it's painful to work in something that you don't feel like part of that. Like I didn't feel any inspiration and any motivation. I was killing myself in that place, and I think I as a form of escaping there, I started selling pies. I since I am a kid, I like selling stuff. I'm always selling something else. I think I have this entrepreneur inside of me since I was a kid, and I started to sell these pies at work, and quickly, like in 3 months, I had like 4,000 pies I was selling a month, and I contract people to work with me. I bought a car, and I was getting a better salary than my job at that time. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to leave this job. I'm going to open the business and make a pie shop. So I started like to do courses to prepare that. I actually started building the second floor. My mother had this field she wasn't using. So I started building the pie business there. It was like all close to open the shop like a month before. I did this preparation course that changed my life, and I even did a TED talk about this. It's the question that the tutor did during the course was basically to forget everything you had done in your life and imagine you had the opportunity to start over, to start fresh with no degrees, no courses, no business, nothing, born today. And imagine now 5 years from now, 10 years, where you want to be in 15 years. And I think for the first time, I realized, wow, I played games my whole life. I could be making games. I could be working with this. And it was a big decision point in my life. And that was the moment that I decided to, I'm gonna go crazy and really start over. And I got the money from the pies, and I sold my car. I left my job, and everyone thought she's going crazy. And I traveled to England, and I started studying games programming. That was my first course, and that was 1 year. And I didn't have any experience before making games, just playing games. I didn't know what was Unity, what was C++, Photoshop. None experience in the art and in the nothing, none of the areas. It was challenge, but it was. I'm so happy to finally made it, even if it's late, right? So I did 1 year of games programming. Then I managed to get a master's degree in game design at the NFTS. I don't know if you know about it. It's like
I do, yeah, amazing, yeah, great course.
It's famous for films, right, and the National Film and Television School, and that's where my final project was Pixel Rip. So that's where I learned a little bit about Unity, all the areas. It's my first game. I'm still noob. I consider myself like a noob in the industry because after 2014, I keep working on Pixel Rip until now. Like I still working on this game.
Yeah.
I mean, we released one game, but we're not in the second game.
Yeah, and I suppose that's my next sort of question really is like, I guess Pixel Rip was like your first idea, so the game you wanted to make. So I mean, how did the ideas come about to make Pixel Rip? It
came straightly from a dream I had. Like I had like a week before we pitched the idea for the course. At the course, we had to pitch ideas to decide the final project, and I was really struggling to come with an idea that was like something, that's what I want to do. And then I had this dream that I was playing a game in the TV, and I was like in the sofa, but every time the game involving graphics, like imagine you started playing like Atari graphics, and every time the game evolved to Nintendo, Super Nintendo, to 3D, the whole world around was like pixelating and evolving too. And then in the end, everything was merging like one same reality. And then I woke up with, that was the core idea that motivated me to start Pixel Rip. The idea of, I'm going to make a game that you are living the industry, the evolution of video games. You're living, you're remembering, you coming back in time, seeing how I was, and that's the core idea where it started. And at that time, I had a DK1, and I was trying to every idea I had in every idea for a game I wasn't having so far since I bought the headset. I was just thinking about how can I make this in VR, and that idea fitted so well with VR because the dream, what I wanted to accomplish was I want to make a time machine. So VR is the best way to transport players for different universe. So this was perfect. I was so happy to finally find an idea that fit well with VR that couldn't have been done without VR. So it's most important point, having an idea that I was excited for and having an idea that would be really much better done in VR than in other platforms.
I suppose it's not like a natural match as a game, because obviously you've got the retro aesthetic there of like the classics or the Castlevanias and the platform games of old that we know and love. But then you've also sort of, you're essentially playing a game within a game. So like you're playing on a handheld in the middle of a classroom, and you've got a teacher to keep an eye on. And if the teacher catches you playing the game, you've obviously got to put that away. So it's like you've got to pay attention to two games at once. And so that's sort of natural kind of marriage of a game, because like when people look at virtual reality, they think, well, obviously we want cutting edge technology, we want the biggest graphics, we want the best sound, the best looking game possible. So when you sort of think about that, I mean, you've essentially created the first real look back and a homage to the games that we loved as children, but using the most cutting edge technology that we have on the market today for games. I mean, that's incredible when you think about how you've managed to do that and put those two things together.
The hardest part is, of course, we have two games all the time. So the other game is actually built separate. It has characters, it has code, it has everything, all the complexity of a game. We could actually release the game in the game separate.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Yeah.
So it's a challenge for all the areas. So the composer, the sound designer, the artist, every area, it needs to be built twice.
Yeah.
But at the same time, is the best part of this game is that we can explore, like you said, the newest technology and go back to the retro stuff. So we learn a lot in every area because we have to focus on how to make a game really, really feel retro, and don't use most of the things we have in Unity now. Because like sometimes we take out moves, take out stuff because we want to look the way it was. So we have to try to go below what we have nowadays to build games, make it
exactly.
to look similar to the old school. And then at the other hand, we have to explore the most recent. We have to be always up to date. What is the VR controllers, the headsets, the platforms, the goal like to get the best graphics running, to get best FPS. So it's really the 3D world that's using the latest technology. Then the game in the game is trying to recreate the retro field of gaming. So that's the best, the hardest part, but the most exciting part for everyone in the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I suppose when you look at the kind of the games that you're making there and like your introduction to the industry has been with VR, but I mean, is there a kind of an appetite in yourself to create, I don't know, like a Call of Duty style game without VR? You always just felt like these the sort of independent style of game and the independent style of virtual reality game, is that do you feel that's the most natural kind of game path for you?
Yeah, definitely. I am more motivated to keep working on an indie, smaller team experience because for a creative director, you have more freedom to explore different and crazy, more dangerous experience when you're doing a game when you are in a smaller
more experimental.
Team. Yeah, I don't think that Pixel Rip would exist if it was created in a AAA company, because when the idea came in, when I was exploring, I had to do many decisions that everyone around me was kind of telling me this is not a good idea, and I stick to it and I did it. So I think it's a kind of a unique game because I had the freedom to explore, to go to do whatever I want when I was at this university. So we were pushed at the NFTS. All the students were pushed to do something was never done, do something different. What is different about this game? So every project had to be different some way. It had to be exploring something new, and that gave me the opportunity to do whatever I want. And then I remember the course coordinator was like not even into VR at that time. Now he loves VR, but I remember at the time we had discussions about how you're gonna do storytelling VR. I had colleagues saying, how are you gonna do a game that you don't move, that you're just sitting down experience? This is gonna be boring. So I had to really stick to my ideas and do it. But AAA companies, they don't give that freedom. You have a budget, you have a schedule, you have a big team, so decisions have to be done in big groups and a lot of people. So you have less freedom, and that's something that for a creator, that's something I want to run from it. I'd rather do it in a small team. You have more personal experience. Big games, they're more close to the team. Like if you have less people, usually you put more character into the games, and you have more freedom to explore something crazy like VR. I think it's great to have the opportunity to have a small team and be able to explore anything. I don't feel motivated. I can't say I wouldn't work in a AAA. Depends, but if it's a VR game for AAA, maybe I would.
Yeah. But it feels more comfortable because I guess you've had the opportunity there to essentially create the game that you want to make, and you've almost founded an entire company around that to a degree. Like if your company is dedicated to create the picture of the current of Pixaript and also the future of Pixaript, and that's been kind of like you've driven to in that direction, and it's obviously taken off massively well because everyone has responded to the game positively. And there's lots of you've had lots of success with it as well, and obviously we'll dive into that a little bit later on. But I just want to sort of talk a bit about the early days of the game, because obviously you've mentioned that you started out as a student project, but obviously then I know that you later transitioned into a Kickstarter. I just sort of wondered when you felt that the game might be when you were ready for that next stage of development, and perhaps what did you learn from the Kickstarter moving into the final creation of the game?
Yeah, I think the big decision point was when I finished university, and I decided, the point where I decided, okay, I'm gonna keep working this game and release the game, because until the end of the course I was planning, okay, I'm gonna do a demo of something and maybe try to get a job. I wasn't planning to release a game. So it was just a student project. I'm gonna put it there, get a job. But then when I went to a few events, and I put the game at the Oculus Share at the time. There was no Oculus store. I don't know if you remember. And the game quickly got like in first place on the platform. People could vote. And that got me a lot of press, a lot of investors. And I was a student, so I was like having investors meetings and YouTubers playing the game. It was unexpected for me. It was like, wow, maybe the game is good. Yeah, I didn't know so far because I had been testing the game with just people that never had tried VR before. So everyone was having a huge experience because of VR. It's like you're showing a movie to people, but they never saw a television. So how you know how you know your movie is good or the television is good? It's hard to tell. So I was like, I don't know, maybe the game. I don't know if the game's good. I know Oculus Rift is good. So it was like this. It took me a long time to realize, okay, maybe the game is good. And then I decided, okay, after the course finished, I released the game, and it's going to be a releasable project. So I joined as a colleague of mine at university, and we joined and we decided to open the business. And we decided to do a Kickstarter. At that time, we're talking to investors. There was a lot going on, and we got some support from Oculus at the beginning of the project. So that was the real Kickstarter for us, because the Kickstarter itself failed. And at the time, we were applying for an accelerator in Silicon Valley. So Kickstarter failed, but we got investment from Boost VC. So we ended up moving to America for a while, and I stayed there after that. I was living in England for 4 years and a half. Then I stayed near San Francisco in San Mateo for like 2 years. But then the money ended after Boost. I was self-funding the project for a while.
Wow.
I had friends helping me when they could. It was really hard to accomplish this project, a complex project like that, when you're working with no budget, friends helping when they had free time. So this was 2017, and then I met Arvore, and then we joined it and worked 1 year together and finally released Pixaript 1989 last year, which it was like the last push I needed. Like they got investment from Arvore, got a team, so that we co-developing together. That made the whole difference. Like that's the big difference between 1989 and 1995. 1989, I was having a lot of ups and downs in the way. I was spend a lot of the time trying to get investment, trying to work in other companies to get money to so keep working free time. I had free time on PixelRip. So now with Arvore, we can just focus on making the game. The project is funded by Arvore, so I don't have to worry. Oh my God, they're gonna have money tomorrow. We're gonna have money. So this really, this makes the difference. Having like structure, right, in a team. So we have a team there, and it's probably gonna be possible to release constantly PixelRips and not like every 4 years, because the first game took 4 years.
And I suppose it's strange because obviously you had the original concept in the very early days, and you know exactly the game you wanted to create, and it took all the time because from different moving from back and forth and working obviously on Kickstarter, working with different people, and like the whole process of development makes you wonder if you'd had that backing from the beginning, how much quicker the game could have been released. If you'd done. But what's really impressive for you is that you managed to stick to your original vision throughout all of that, and you stayed faithful to it and true to the game you wanted to make, and you really you understood and you could see what it wanted to be from the very beginning. And leading into that, when you look at PixelRip 1989 now, is this the game that you originally envisaged as a student? I mean, how much did the game evolve over the time of development?
It changed. It did really change, and I think I had this opportunity to change so much because I was the person doing the decisions, and I was myself going crazy in the night working. When I had an idea, I was having a beer. Okay, I'm gonna do this, and so the game changed a lot. I feel like it was good because of the way I was like cooking something for the first time and trying as I was doing and changing ingredients. So I think it was really good to finally find what is PixelRip. I had this freedom to experience, to do a lot of experiment and try different things. For the first month of the project, after the first month, I tested at the university, and I threw everything away. Started from zero. I don't think you would have this freedom when you are in a budget with a schedule. And the game was really different. So imagine the first test I did. You were playing a game in kind of 1990. It was like 1990. You're playing a game on the television. You're like a teenager, and your boyfriend is trying to get your attention, and he's like in front of the television while you're playing like a Nintendo. It was, and then you're trying to play, but he's in front of you. And I tested with 30 people. I got some beer, basically about beer, and I invited people in the Facebook group at the university. Hey, come here, play the game, help me play the game and tell me your feedback and get a beer.
Yeah.
And that was awesome because if I hadn't tested the game so soon, I would keep working on the idea. The game would be like a failure because everyone hated the boyfriend. Everyone was having this frustrating experience. They want to kill that guy. And all the feedback was like, how can I kill him? Can I punch him? And it wasn't what I want. I want to make. I want people to laugh, have fun.
Yep.
And the game was frustrating and stressful. And I had that moment where the character would jump out from the console, but that was like it lasts for 5 seconds. You had like a huge furniture with a bunch of consoles. She would jump from one console, and you have to just jump inside like an Atari console, and then the game in the TV would change from Nintendo to Atari, and then you would keep playing. And every single person answered, what was the best part? When the character jumps out of the console. What do you want to, what was the worst? It was too short. It was 5 seconds. It was one jump. So I threw it all in the garbage and I started everything again. And I focused, okay, the best part is the character coming out. So I focused, what is the best part? For me, the best part of a game is the boss battle.
Yeah.
So I made, okay, the boss battle is going to be the ice in the cake. It's going to be the best moment. The characters will jump out. It's going to be epic. And I left the boss battle I make that moment where the character jumps out of the console to be all the boss fights. So that was a really important change, I think, for the game, because still nowadays is the most favorite part for every game. is when the characters jump out. It's actually the moment. This is VR. That's why we can do stuff like this.
Yeah, I think that sums up exactly why the game is perfect for VR, because it offers new opportunities that you can't get on a flat screen game, because you kind of the level of immersion that you have when you're playing a game like PerpCast, that when they pop out of the screen, they really do pop out and they're right in your face. And you've obviously got a world happening around you, even though you're essentially focusing on the television that's in front of you, with the game that's in front of you, or the handheld console that's in front of you. And I think that exactly shows why PerpCast 1989 is a perfect VR game, because it really is. The world around you is there's something happening in the world around you, not just the world in front of you. And I guess for you, when you finally got to that stage where the game was finished and you finished all the prototype and all the design stages and you finally shipped it and you saw the reaction to the game, I mean, that must have been such a satisfying moment for you to finally have it shipped, have it in people's hands so they could play it, and for the reception to be so positive.
It took me a long time to figure it out. Like, when something big happens in your life, most people don't realize until past like 3 days, because you're in the middle of the hurricane and you're like, it's a lot going on. So when we released the game, we all like sending to platforms, contacting the relations, and checking, sharing, and it was a lot going on. But after time passed, it's crazy for me. It's still something that I am surprised. It's my first game and it got released. Like I wasn't expecting to be in the industry so quick. Like after my first game, like after finishing the university, Like I said, I still feel like I'm learning a lot, and it is a dream come true for me. Like having a game release, it's a big achievement. Definitely, there was a lot of moments that I want to give up. It was 4 years. Friends are like, they can't stand you anymore. Just talking about this game. So people start questioning when this game's gonna come out. Fans waiting, like, is this game's ever gonna come out? So you get to this process of a long journey, right? 4 years, and then when it finally is out, it's great. It's definitely, I think, the biggest achievement I done in my life, releasing this game. It was long, I'm not gonna say it was easy to, but I'm sure I had a lot of fun doing the journey, because it was the craziest journey I done in my life. Before making games, I was just working at the Justice Call, so it is just boring. I love an adventure. Definitely that journey to release this game was a crazy adventure. Like, I had to do a lot to get this game out. A lot of people help, and so many friends that help it. They could just leave me alone, when the money was gone, there was no money to pay anyone. Or the freelancers, they stick together and they keep helping, like in the weekends, and those people are that helped me through this journey. In Arvore, in the end, it's definitely one thing I will never forget. I'll be always thankful for them. These are the true friends, people there with you when it's when it's not in just having a drink or in a party. You never know who are your friends until you need them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. And I feel like if you don't have that support network sometimes behind you to do these things, then they never happen, because I think the importance of friendships and the importance of family in these sort of situations, when you're working long hours and you're working on something for so long, if you don't have that behind you, then it can be so difficult to find the motivation to carry on to do it. And I feel like that really encapsulates your story so well, is that you've had the backing to finally get that game created one way or the other, and it, as you say, it's had such a fantastic reception, and you've been such a fantastic ambassador for VR from that as well, because you've really been spreading awareness about the industry and about PerpCast, and you've been marketing the brand in a unique way. You celebrate it by cosplaying as your character Dot, and so when you look at, like, obviously a creator for a game to be so actively and so impassioned, clearly openly impassioned about the game and the product that they've created, how important is it for you to kind of show how much you really enjoy this project and how much you care about this project, and what kind of led you to the cosplay inside of that and to really get more involved at events?
So the game before PerpCast, I was working on Boneco Loco at the university. We had this it was a mobile project we did. It was my first year, And when the second years we're going to events to show the final projects, I was going together and showing this game. And I always liked it to do cosplay, so I did cosplay Shira, some Naruto like Naruto characters like Sakura-chan, Hinata-chan, and I had done cosplay before. I enjoy doing cosplay, and I went to this event and I was like, why I don't cosplay my own game? Why I don't?
Yeah,
I always got this. For me, going to a comic event or a game convention, I always go dress up as a character because why not, And I love doing it. So when I went to these game events and I was a game developer already, I thought I'm gonna dress like my game. Because I had the idea I'm gonna dress like Shira, and I was like, no, why am I gonna dress like Shira? I should dress like Boneco Loco, which is the name of it's this big puppet in the game that has he's on fire. And it's like in Carnival here, we have these big puppets. And the idea in the game that these puppets on fire is destroying Carnival. And you have to save Carnival and throw water balloons into these puppets on fire. So I got this big hat and had fire in the top of that. I don't know if you know Oscar Clark. He's always in the event. Oscar Clark. He always have a hat.
Oh, I know Oscar. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when I met Oscar Clark, because he always wear this hat, and I had this huge hat bigger than his one, on fire with LEDs and fire in the top. So he was like, he's like, I have to meet you. Everyone has been talking about that someone else has a hat. So that's a funny story. I think I never told that story before. So on Boneco Loco, I did it, and that really helped me to promote the game. I realized it. People will come to you and they will come and ask you, what you dress up? What is this character? And then there will be a really great open line for you to go and say, that's my game, and pitch your game. So it worked so well on that convention. And I didn't know how strong was this as a marketing tool. And then when we had the next year, the final project, we could go to Eurogamer.
Yeah.
With to show our game, and that was like the big deal for us. We prepare ourselves for this event, and I thought, okay, now I'm gonna dress up as Dot and dress up as this character, and that because I realized with the other game that was a good way to get people to talk to you. Also, when you are in a game convention, just to be in a cosplay, you're probably gonna be in many photos because people like taking photos of cosplay. This was kind of how I discovered how I come with this idea. I just figured out why Shira. I always did cosplay.
Yeah. And it was a natural kind of progression for you because you, as you say, you'd obviously always had an interest and a passion in cosplay, and it was the character that you've created in Pixel Ripped is so distinct. It really does suit cosplay very, very well because it's like you see the character and you know exactly where they're from because it's a very marketable, very unique character with kind of the outfit. And I suppose like talking a bit about like obviously different cosplays that take different amounts of time to create the costumes, but in terms of actually making Dot's costume, I mean, how was that made and how long did that take you to get all the details and to make sure everything was and how the materials to get everything done?
Funny thing is that the first cosplay was done like with me and a colleague at university, and I bought on everything on Amazon, and that's kind of I found this plastic bean, and those plastic beans that has like this cylinder shape, and I got this to make the laser gun, and then we took out the bottom of the bean and put like some LEDs, and then the shoulder, it was the lead of the bean. And the show, so that was kind of how the first cosplay was put together. I bought the dress, everything on Amazon, and it was really like indie style. And then now with Arvore, when we released 1989, I said, okay, we need a new cosplay, and then I got my brother. He's a lawyer. But he loves building stuff. He loves doing like costumes too. He builds his own cosplay, and he built the armor, all the parts there are like electronic, the laser gun, and now we already in the third version of the cosplay. And my aunts that I have, they are professional. They do like dresses in like bags and belts. So they work with that, doing stuff like this. So they did my costume, my clothes, all the clothing, the boots, they do the accessories.
Yeah.
But all the electronic parts, my brother does. So I'm actually going next week to my hometown, and my brother's gonna do some upgrades in the armor. But the good thing I want to say about doing a cosplay of your own game is that many times now we are in the game doing decisions about dots. And we also think about not just the game, but we also think about the cosplay. So there was a moment where we changed, okay, the laser gun is going to be like a huge bracelet and her hands are going to be free. And I came and said, this is a good idea because I need to network. And when I have my two hands free, I can network better in events. So the decisions of the game the character in the game are also being influenced by the cosplay now. And there was a point when I tried to find that plastic to buy the laser gun, I couldn't find the same color of the character. So we ended up changing the color of the game to fit the cosplay because it was easy to change in the game. So that freedom you just have if you're cosplaying your own game, it's great. Like now the cosplay became so important now because it's kind of who I am. I am this person. I go to everywhere dressing this costume.
And it's opened up so many opportunities for you as well. I mean, the game has gained more recognition as a result of that. And I know you recently visited the Japan Media Arts Festival and you won an award there. You're one of the first VR games to be exhibited there. Did you even carry an Olympic torch? Is that right?
Yes, that happened.
I mean, like, you know, that's the thing. It must have been incredible. Like, and obviously with the team's enthusiasm with that as well, and the passion for the brand. I mean, all the opportunities have been opened up to you as a result of cosplay, and also just having a recognizable character. I mean, that's amazing.
I can't say I'm not happy to be my own game. I'm really happy to get the most, promote the most what I can of this game. So I do it, for me, I'm happy doing that. It's not something that I wouldn't want it to do. It's like your kid, right? You're like super proud of your kid. So I have a lot of fun. I think it has been working well. I'm glad I stick to that idea of the cosplay because I remember first time I was cosplaying to Eurogame and many friends from university came, come, this is ridiculous. Are we going to dress up as this character? It's a serious event. People showing the games. So some people said stuff like that. And I was like, fuck it. I'm going to go on my cosplay. I'm going to be on my cosplay. And that worked.
And it works pretty well.
It worked really well. It's comfortable too. I have now, we now make the cosplay thinking about the best way to network. So I even have a little backpack that I put the quest on. So if I want to demo the game, I have can grab from the backpack the quest, and I have like a belt which my business cards fit into it. So I can quick get business cards. It became this really comfortable suit for events actually. The helmet I even put in the head of the Minister of Culture in Japan. So you share the helmet with people, and they want to take a photo and they want to share that photo. So you tell them, hey, could you tag me there so I can have the photo? So that is, it's kind of, you are this walking booth. You become this walking, like, it's like a walking booth. It is a really, it's a hard work because you're going to be taking a lot of photos, but it's the best way to promote the game that I found so far. It's easy to network too because everyone sees you from far distance too. So people come talk to you. So you get the most of events now. Like you can never miss anyone because you have a huge ears with LEDs on them.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I think when you go to, I think it's funny enough, on a previous podcast, I was talking to Andreas at Fast Travel Games, and I mentioned that I went to Eurogame myself this year, and I was chatting to Gamertag VR, who's one of the content creators that we work with, and he actually mentioned that he wished he'd brought his Oculus Quest with him because so many people have yet to try VR, and he just handed out at the event to just people who had never tried VR before. Will give this a try, and as you say, it's a perfect perfect way for you to demo your game, as you say, becoming a walk-in booth. Like you're walking the show floor and you've got the game literally on you in your backpack to say, well, here you go. You don't even have to go to my booth. I'm right here. So it's.
I would like to have a upgrade in my cosplay. Next one to have shoot headsets in people's heads, so I can put the laser gun like headsets.
Yeah, that'd be so fun.
That'll be the best upgrade. Who knows in the future?
Maybe in the future, yeah, right. I mean, the VR is pushing the future, so that's the beauty of it. And I think the beauty of, as well, what you're doing as well is you're not only raising awareness about your game, but you're also raising awareness about game development in Brazil and showing the world that there's some incredibly talented developers in Brazil and almost helping Brazil get on the map as a really experienced premier VR developer. So I just wanted to chat a bit more about the local game scene in Brazil and what's happening there and like how Pixelripped has really helped, draw more attention to Brazil's gaming.
Thank you so much. I feel, I feel now. Oh my God, I have a responsibility now representing my country.
Sorry. But it's true. I mean, I feel like it really has helped because, you don't hear much about games development in Brazil. And I feel like that's so important to like there is a games development scene around the world. I mean, I live in Wales and we have a very, very, very small community here that's growing and we gain a bit of recognition from time to time. So I know the importance of having a big game come out to really draw awareness and bring attention to that local scene.
Yeah, we do have, now I am living here for 2 years now. I haven't had much contact with the industry here, and there is a lot of talent companies here. Most of them indies. We don't have a AAA company. I think what Pixelripped helped here. I hope it did inspire some developers to go to work with VR, especially. I had few people that talked to me and said, "Wow, when I saw that you released a game back in this when I put the demo online, it's 2015. There was not much going on in VR here in Brazil, and I remember there was this article that was saying the first Brazilian to release a game. I don't know if that's true, but there is a lot of people that say that, and I don't want to say I'm the one saying that, but there's some people that they believe I'm the first. I am the first Brazilian to release something in VR online, because when I put the demo, this was end of 2014. So some people come to me and say, "Oh, I started working in VR. I started developing for VR after I saw that you're doing this game." Because I think being a student and not having much experience, I think people see this as if she can do, I can do too. So it's a good motivation to people, not just see big AAA companies doing something, like see teams like Beat Saber is a big inspiration for many people. And I think this, like coming from where I came from, I'm from Maranhão, it's the poorest state of Brazil. And that also inspires a lot of people to, wow, I came all the way from there and I'm now releasing a game.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not like a AAA release, a huge release, but for a student project coming where achieving what it did, it's a big inspiration for many people. And I hope I'm inspiring, especially some little girls out there that want to make games and try to somehow be a reference to. Because when I was a kid, I remember not having any, growing up here in Brazil, I don't remember knowing anyone that was working on making games. So I didn't have anyone to look for. And and I think that's why it took me so long, probably, to figure out, wow, I can make games. And in Brazil, we have a lot of talent companies, but unfortunately, it's really hard to go out in the world here because we don't have many events like in Europe or in America. So you don't go to an event and you find someone from. It's really hard to find people from the company. So when I went to Eurogamer, or the first VR event I met in the same event. This was Newcastle, I think, the first event I went. And I met the dev. I met Callum from Oculus. I met dev relations from Sony. I met the industries on these events. And here it's really far for them to come. So what I think the struggle here is not having companies. There is a bunch of indie companies making really good stuff. The hard is to market those games and get those games in the world. So I think that's the struggle here. And I think I was really lucky to get the attention I got because I was also outside Brazil. Unfortunately, if I was doing pixel rep in Brazil, I don't think I would get where I got. I wouldn't get that far because when I was in Eurogamer, I managed to have interviews with Kotaku, Paper Shotgun, and all these big magazines, like these websites, they're not here. So if you do a game here, you will go to an event and you wouldn't see any international reporters, dev relations, publishers. So it's really, really hard to get out of here to the world. And like the industry here, if you think about our game, we sell 2% in Brazil. Wow. So our market is all outside. Yeah. Our market, especially VR, it's outside. So if you can't get your game out there to the world, you're gonna sell really badly because the market here is not as big. Sadly, especially I'm talking about VR, especially because that's what I know most. Yeah. But you go in a Best Buy, you go in a shop over there, you can buy a headset. Right here, it's really difficult to go in a shop. You don't find companies like Oculus, they're not here. You're not gonna buy in a store. At least PlayStation you can buy here, PlayStation VR. But the prices are so much worse. Like it's 2 times more because we're paying so much tax. So it's unfortunately the market here, it's not enough for people to sell here. So we have to sell outside Brazil. In marketing outside Brazil, it is difficult when you are in the events here. So what people have to do here is try to travel to events, the indie developers. And again, it's really expensive. So I think that's my take on the industry here. It's not that we don't exist, we exist, but it is hard to leave Brazil. It is hard. We need more big events here, more support from the government. But there are good companies here, good games.
And I feel like that's what you've done so well is you've been able to draw attention to that. You've been able to chat about that and actually get hopefully the right people to listen to get people involved and invested to actually encourage that development further. Because a lot of the time it is just trying to encourage the right people to do what they can do already. They've already got the skill set to do it. It's just a case of not having the backing to do that. And I feel like that's the important thing of what you're trying to do and promote is that actually there is that opportunity for people to really express themselves and create the games that they want to create and hopefully get the platform they need to then take it out to the wider world. Because as you say, the gaming market is big, but not big enough. But that's incredible, and it's really great to hear a bit more about Brazil because I mean it's a part of the world that you don't hear enough about. I think for games definitely, and it's really great to see that you're a big part of that. So that's awesome. And I want to chat a bit more about now because obviously we've chatted a lot about PixelRip 1989 now, and we're moving on to PixelRip 1995. I know that you originally, I think one of the original pitches you mentioned about 5 episodes for the game, and so this I guess would be considered like the second episode. So what kind of what are the main differences between 1989 and 1995 that you can tell us about?
I already said that this is more stable development process, so that is one of the big changes.
That's the biggest change.
And then this reflects in the game. Like the game now, it is now we know what is the good thing about pixel rep, and we know what is the recipe. So now we're just focusing making a better game. In 1989 we had 4 levels. This one's gonna have 6. I would say the bigger change is that the game that has more variety. So the demo we have been sharing on Oculus Connect, that was level 3, which is you are playing a Castlevania style, but that's the only level that you are playing in a Castlevania style level, and you are in your bedroom late at night trying to play a game, avoiding your mother. That's the only level. The other levels change. So you have levels where you are playing kind of a top-down style. There's some levels you are playing a beat-em-up game in an arcade, and you are in a rental store sometimes. And there is a lot going on this time. We also have now a narrative designer in the game, a writer, and she has done an incredible job. I think the team that I have in Arvore really, really bring the game for the next level because they're so in love with the game. We are working together really close. Like we work every day. So every day I go 11 a.m. and we leave there around 8, 9 o'clock. We stay sometimes later, and because we're so engaged in this game and we are so close to each other. So you kind of have everyone is having ideas. We're all doing this together, creating together, which is has really bring the game for this more variety. It's hard to do this game because every level changes a lot. But I think for the gamers, that's gonna be a more interesting. More interesting game than 1989 was, because 1989 you're playing most of the time in a Game Boy platform game. Here you change environments. You go to the classroom, to the break time, and then you go to the headmaster's room, and there was these 3 different environments, but now we have different environments and different mechanics. Like, it's not like every level you are trying to, in 1989 you're trying to distract the teacher.
Yeah.
So there is just one level like that on 1995. I believe this is going to be the most fun for players too, because we actually decided to do 1995 based on a vote where players got to choose their next game. And when you finish 1989, there is a time machine moment where Cyber Lord travels in time, and then it appears in a time machine the 5 years of the next episode, so you can choose where do you think Cyber Lord went, and everyone was choosing. They could choose, and we got analytics to get these numbers, and most of people choose 1995. So I believe this is going to be the childhood of most of our audience. Most of the public that plays Pixel Rift, this was their childhood. So I think this game is going to be much more engaging and nostalgic for those people. It's going to bring more of a retro feel to them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you've hit the nail on the head there in terms of like what the era that a lot of people, perhaps the VR gamer generation, have grown up in. This will be perhaps more familiar to them than the first game. But I mean, for you personally, as the lead on the game, what one feature are you most excited about for everyone to play that perhaps whether they've played the first game or they haven't?
I'm more excited to see which level, because there's so many different mechanics. But I think what I'm most excited to see is like what they think about exploring this transition from the 2D to the 3D that we're gonna explore in this game, because this is like the edge of 2D gaming. So other games were like the part like Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, they're all like pushing the limits of the hardware, and we are trying to show that in this game. This is like the kind of the ending of the era of the 2D, which I don't think it ended. Just to be clear.
No, I don't think it ever did.
No. Like the platforms were all trying to go 3D, so we were focused on this. So we are even referencing like Star Fox, and when you get the first voxel, 3D voxel style. And I think I want to see more how the players react to all these different genres we're showing, and the different we're showing a lot of variety, and I want to see how people react to that changing in every level, because I'm also concerned if people is gonna like playing a top-down game, or if they're gonna like playing a racing game, because the other Pixel Rift you always playing a platformer. And now it's something I'm excited to see, but also worried. Are they going to like it that sometimes you're in a top-down, an RPG style, and then sometimes you're in a beaten-up, and then you are in a platformer, and then in a 3D? It's like, it's a lot of variety, but at the same time, are they going to enjoy that too? Because 1989, it was just platform. So I'm excited to see that. Like, people's going to love all these different genres.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah. I think there's going to be a more interesting mix. It certainly sounds that's going to be the case for 1995.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose, like, obviously, this has been such an awesome chat, and I'm really glad you've taken the time to chat with us. This has been so much fun. I've got one last question to ask you, though. Obviously, as we've chatted already, Pixel Rift is like a very recognizable brand now. You've exhibited at events with Cosplay, and you've obviously promoted the Brazilian scene, as we've chatted about. But as we move into a new generation of systems and hardware, and we see VR continue to grow, do you see, I think I might know the answer to this already, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you see Pixel Rift remaining a VR property in the future? And is there a possibility of perhaps trying something new, like a flat screen spin-off maybe in the future? Or
that is something I always wanted to do, but we never had the budget or time to prioritize that. I would love to have to be able to release the retro version of Pixel Rep, like a cartridge of the game that runs on a Game Boy, like a real Game Boy, a really retro version, so people could actually play the game in the consoles. Like you can play in the Sega Genesis or in the 1989 we could release the game in a cartridge to the Game Boy. In 1995 we could release to the Super Nintendo or to the Sega Genesis. I would love to be able to do that, like having the game running in an arcade machine. But I wouldn't want to release Pixel Rep, the VR game, in a non-VR platform. Yeah. But I would like the game in the game. Yeah. I think the game in the game would be awesome. Like, so people could actually in real life go to school and play Pixel Rep in a Game Boy. How cool would be that?
Exactly, yeah. They can actually enact the game without the VR element of it. Yeah.
To have it would be Pixel Rep, a reality experience. It wouldn't be not a VR, but it would be a reality experience. Go to the world and experience.
I can see the Twitter videos now, like people just filming someone in the classroom. This is real life Pixel Rep.
I would love it. I'd love to do that. I think that would be something we all want to do that, I'm sure, but we just don't have the time sometimes in the budget. We have to prioritize releasing the main game, but that's definitely something we have been many times bringing on to meetings and talking about it. I hope one day happens.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people would love to see that happen.
But having the Perp release in Perp Games the game, in a physical copy of the game, that's gonna be for me a big achievement too. So it's gonna be a dream come true. Like when the moment I walk in in a shop and I see the game in a box, that's definitely going to be a big deal in my life.
Yeah. I'm so excited to get the physical release. I know we haven't mentioned that on the show. As you know, we mentioned at the Upload VR showcase that we are working together on Pixel Rip. So I'm really, really excited to bring that out next year.
Yeah, me too. We are all super excited. Many people is mentioning it. Fans are also asking for. People are super excited. They're all asking about when is this going to come in physical copy? Because it is a retro game. So it makes the perfect sense to be in a box, to be in a physical box, and it's definitely gonna bring you to the next level of immersion, inception.
Yeah, it's the next step of the journey, definitely, and it, as you say, it suits the game perfectly. It makes a lot of sense. But yeah, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, Ana. I've really enjoyed chatting to you. That is going to do it for today's show. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this edition of the PerpCast. As we close out the show, feel free to let everyone know where they can find you, Ana, and anything else you might like to share with your audiences before we say goodbye today.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been a great Sunday. And and then if anyone want to follow up or is going on Pixel Ripped, just search Pixel Ripped, and we are everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm also as Ana Game Dev, so you can find me everywhere too. And I also have a YouTube channel, but I haven't been posting stuff there for a long time, so I have to do some new videos. But
is that your travel? Do you do travel blogs and things like that? I think I've seen you do that before.
Yeah, I'm trying different stuff still in the channel. I have a lot going on in the game, so I've been focusing, of course, mainly to be directing the game, but when I have some free time, I post on the YouTube channel. It's not my main focus right now, so it's kind of like left alone a little bit. Apologize because there's not many videos, but I have been doing videos when I had time, and now this last month we're close to feature freeze, so it has been really intense. This last months had been really intense work, and I'm gonna try to post. There is a video ready to post.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to that, and thank you so much again for today. Really appreciated it. So if you've got any questions answered during a future show, reply in the comment section below or send us a message on your preferred social platform and we'll do our best to answer them. What would you like to see in future PerpCasts? Sound up below in the comment sections. We're looking to make this a show as informative and interesting to you as possible. You can find Perp Games on Facebook, tweet us at Perp Games, subscribe on YouTube using the link in the description below. You can also find us on Discord, Instagram, LinkedIn, and get all the latest news on our products on perpgames.com. Thank you very much for listening again, and we'll see you next time.